If you grew up watching the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon in the 1980s, chances are there's one question that's been quietly living in your brain ever since. Whatever happened to those kids? All we know is that they got stuck in a magical world trying to find their way back home, and that's it. The show ended without giving us the closure we were hoping to get. This lingering question is also a reason why the show's been alive for decades after it stopped airing. In fact, over the years, these seemingly missing kids have popped up in the most unexpected random places, like fan-made videos, comic book storylines, and even in an automobile advertisement. The recent Dungeons & Dragons movie also featured a nostalgic nod to the kids, but we still don't know for sure what happened to them. Did they ever find their way back home, or are they still trapped in that realm? In this video, join us as we take a close look at all the places they've shown up and try to find the missing pieces of this puzzle so we can figure out what happened to them. It's time to go on an adventure of our own, wouldn't you say? The show that just stopped. But did it truly? If you've been with this channel for a while, you know how much of a hopeless optimist I am, so part of me doesn't want to believe that the children are stuck there or worse. But it's also true that we never got an official clarification, so we might as well remain optimistic. D&D has been the world's most popular tabletop role-playing game for almost half a century, and it's still something I love to get together and do with my friends. This popularity was completely influenced by the animated show co-produced by Marvel Productions, Toei Animation, and TSR. Unfortunately for so many of us, it was cancelled before the final episode was made. I assume that if you're here, you must be acquainted with the series, but here's a quick rundown in case your memory's a little foggy. We've got our heroes, Hank, the Ranger, Diana the Acrobat, Eric the Cavalier, Presto the Magician, Bobby the Barbarian, and Sheila the Thief were transported to the world of Dungeons & Dragons after getting on a magical dark ride at an amusement park. There, they meet the Dungeon Master, who gives them a magical item each, granting them powers appropriate to particular D&D classes. The main goal for these kids was finding a way to reach home, but they got involved in various side quests too. During these detours, they help people and find out how their own fates are intertwined with those of others. They face off against many enemies, but the primary one is a dark wizard named Venger who wishes to rule over the realm and thinks that harnessing the power of the kids can help him achieve that goal. There's also the five-headed dragon named Tiamat, a recurring villain and the only creature Venger is afraid of. A deeper relationship between the Dungeon Master and Venger is hinted at, and in the episode titled The Dragon's Graveyard, the former refers to him as his son. The final unproduced episode, Requiem, would have confirmed the connection had it been produced. It would have also served as a conclusion to the story, as well as a reimagining of the series in case a fourth season were to happen. The unproduced episode was written by Michael Reeves of Gargoyles and Batman the Animated Series fame, who has discussed the script online and also published it on his official website. Eventually, it was made into an audio drama as a special feature for the BCI Eclipse DVD edition of the show.
I won't be bothered by Air Force people or Dungeon Masters young.
So, what was the actual ending supposed to be? I know, you've probably been waiting for this, so we're not going to let you stew in anticipation any longer. We've read Reeves' script for the unproduced final episode, so let's get into it. The script opens with Venger and the Dungeon Master meeting each other, with the former saying that the kids have come so far only because they had the latter with them. Without the Dungeon Master, they would have been toast long ago. The Dungeon Master refutes this, saying that they have courage in their hearts and suggest Venger should test the same. He accepts and raises the stakes, saying that if the kids succeed without any help, they will find the key to go back home. But if they fail, they'll lose everything, their weapons, as well as their lives. The scene then cuts to the group fighting a Hydra with very little success. They try their best, but because the creature has more heads than Tiamat, according to Diana, it's nearly impossible to defeat. Bobby almost becomes breakfast, but the Dungeon Master appears right then, making the kids heave a sigh of relief. They cry out for his help, but he sternly says that they got into this mess on their own, so they should get out of it the same way. Everyone's a little alarmed at this, but they have no time to reflect because the Hydra is very much the center of attention. Seeing no other way, they just run for their lives, hoping to find some shelter because they clearly misjudged their opponent. Finally, they manage to outsmart it by letting it down into a green pool that looks like it could kill a bubonic plague bacillus. Nice zinger there, I guess? As evening sets in, they try to understand why the Dungeon Master has suddenly abandoned them after having helped them for so long. They bitterly agree that maybe he was just a guard of the realm who had had no real intention of ever telling them to leave. Due to their disappointment, they almost have a full-on brawl about which direction to go to spend the night. Seeing this as the opportune moment to test the children, Venger appears, seemingly trying to make peace. He says that the Dungeon Master's advice so far has only made the gang fight more battles, and they are nowhere closer to finding an escape. He then proposes allowing them to go home, since he's spared their lives before as well. All they have to do is go south to the realm's edge, where they will find a cenotaph holding a key. After they toss this key into the abyss, Venger will send them home, and he even swears on it. Hank, Bobby, and Diana don't trust him, but Eric, Sheila, and Presto think differently. They're angry at the Dungeon Master for having left them alone and want to go back home at any cost. Venger might be a bad guy, but they trust that he'll not go back on his word. The group separates, with Eric, Presto, and Sheila moving ahead. However, the others decide to stop them and board a bronze dragon to catch up. When Eric stubbornly refuses to come back, Hank shoots at him out of desperation. Eric uses his shield to deflect the shot, but the arrow falls into a volcano below and sets off a massive eruption that covers their ship. The rest watch helplessly as Eric, Sheila, and Presto fall to their apparent deaths. Hank doesn't say much, but it's apparent that he blames himself for causing the mess. He finally says that they have to keep moving towards Realm's Edge because there's no going back. In a parallel scene, Eric and the others are under the impression that the eruption has killed Hank, Bobby, and Diana. Eric blames himself too, but the trio resume their journey to do what Venger has asked. The two groups make their way to the tower from opposite sides. Because the terrain is so high, they're completely unaware that everyone else is still alive. Elsewhere, Venger gloats that the children's desire to go home trumps everything else and that they will fail the mission. However, true to his cryptic nature, the Dungeon Master simply says that the kids will save not just themselves, but Venger too. Finally, the kids reunite when they arrive at the entrance of the cenotaph. Hank still wants them to go back because Venger cannot be trusted, but Eric refuses, causing another standoff. After fighting an amoeba-like creature, which blocks the path below, they have no other choice but to move ahead and enter the sanctum. They find a broken wall, beyond which lies an abyss, and realize that they've arrived at the realm's edge. Sheila finds a keyhole on the vault, while the others discover the carved figure of a man on top of the sarcophagus. They're all astonished that the carving is none other than Venger himself, except that he's dressed like a warrior. Eric finds the brass key inside it and excitedly tries to throw it into the abyss, but is stopped by Hank, who reminds him that the entire realm is a dungeon and everyone within is a prisoner. So it's possible that Venger himself is a prisoner too. But before he can say anything else, the amoeboid monster from earlier reappears, grabbing the rest. Bobby brings down his club on it, sending a shockwave that sends Hank flying off the edge and into the abyss. Eric tries to reach out, but it's too late. Venger materializes before them as well and urges Eric to throw away the key. However, the seed of doubt has finally been planted in his mind, so he decides to trust Hank's judgment and instead makes a run to insert it into the keyhole. Venger tries to stop him in anger, but he's unsuccessful. The doors of the vault swing open with brilliant white light pouring out. The magic engulfs Venger, who cries out in fear. The rays shoot from the tower in all directions of the realm. One crashes near where the serfs were raising crops, opening a portal to medieval Earth. The serfs rush towards it. Similarly, another crashes near the lizard men and opens a portal showing a tropical forest with 3 red suns. The lizard men hurry in. Wherever the light strikes, portals open up. The kids are momentarily stunned by everything, but then Eric realizes that Hank was right and darts over to the edge. They're unable to hold back their emotions, fearing the worst, but they find Hank holding onto a rock. After hauling him up, they look over at Venger, who slowly gets transformed into the majestic warrior whose likeness is carved on the sarcophagus. His voice also becomes deeper, without the sinister lilt. Hank gloriously exclaims, "I was right. Our mission in the realm wasn't to defeat Venger, it was to redeem him." The new Venger approaches the kids, and the Dungeon Master finally appears. The former kneels and addresses the latter as his father, saying that he's returned. Tearfully, the Dungeon Master remarks that the children have done the one thing he himself was incapable of, returning his son to him. Everyone is naturally baffled, and Venger reveals how he chose to follow the Nameless One many ages back, and was thus trapped in the sarcophagus as a result. The kids didn't just set him free, but also everyone else who was trapped in the realm. The Dungeon Master creates a portal for them to return home and gives them the chance to stay back if they wish, saying that there's still a lot of evil to defeat and other adventures awaiting. The kids look at each other and grin, preparing to make the most important decision they've ever made, and the scene shifts back through the broken wall beyond the tower, rising above Realm's Edge, and zooms out until the incredible vista of the realm itself is visible with all of its landforms and inhabitants. It's a new realm for now, but it will always be the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. So, even though the final episode didn't give us a conclusive ending and finished on a cliffhanger, quite literally if you think about the entire scene, but after reading this, we were actually quite impressed because leaving the conclusion to the audience is usually one of the best ways to address the ending of many fantasy stories. By all logic, the children should return home because that's what they've been trying so hard to do for so long, but the small prospect that they might choose to stay back and have more adventures instead of going back to the mundane routine of their lives is exciting to think about. It also places us in the shoes of the characters, raising a hypothetical dilemma where we have to choose between the safety of home and the thrill of adventure. What decision would you go with? The clue was hiding in the show the whole time. Let's refresh our memories a sec. Remember the 14th episode titled The Girl Who Dreamed Tomorrow? This is the opening episode for the second season where a girl named Terry ended up getting transported into Dungeons and Dragons via the same ride that brought the other kids to the realm. She's discovered by the gang when they try to escape from a group of bullywogs by swinging across a chasm. Eric then bumps into a rail car that's suspiciously similar to the one that brought them here. While they wonder if it can somehow take them home, the bullywogs manage to catch up and destroy it. The kids have no choice but to hide from them, but they are again confronted by another creature, a dog. They quickly realize that this dog is friendly and wants them to follow him, which they do. The dog leads them to Terry, who's been captured by lizard men, and they set her free. To everyone's astonishment, she calls Diana by name, despite none of them having met each other before. She explains how she had a dream about Diana getting attacked, and that's how she knows her name. The Dungeon Master then appears and tells the group they can go home if they find the portal in the middle of Venger's Maze of Despair. As always, there's a catch. They have to destroy it before they can use it. Eric points out this very obvious contradiction, but by then, the man is already gone. The kids find out about Terry's ability when her heart-shaped locket starts glowing as she sleeps and shows a portal to the amusement park. Before they can reach it, Venger's shadow appears, and Bobby and Uni get captured by a dragon. Terry herself tries to run but ends up trapped in the maze. She has another dream later about her leaving school on Earth and finding Bobby waiting for her with the locket in his hands. Dungeon Master appears and tells her that the dream will come true and also explains the reason for his earlier cryptic warning. The portal to go back exists, but the maze, being a maze, doesn't allow people to actually go back. Moreover, if the kids manage to get back home, the portal will still remain functional and lure other people, which is exactly why it needs to be destroyed. Venger allows the kids to pass through the portal only if they hand over Terry, which they refuse to do, and fight him. Bobby seizes the opportunity to take Terry and Fred to the portal and ensures that they get home. Before leaving, she hands over her locket to him so he can come find her, just as her dream had suggested. He then destroys it so that others don't suffer the same fate. Now, Dungeon Master himself had said that, like all the other dreams, the one about Terry meeting Bobby outside her school is also going to come true. So we can assume that Bobby managed to get back home, and it's unlikely that he would leave the others to return by himself. Also, in the dream, he didn't look any older than his current self, so we kind of think that this counts as a spoiler for the eventual ending of all the kids managing to get back home, and we didn't have to wait years to learn the same. That said, the episode City at the Edge of Midnight confirmed that time passed differently in the Dungeons & Dragons world than it did on Earth. So no matter how long the kids stay trapped in the realm, whenever they do get back, it will be on the same night that they visited the amusement park. We think that even if the gang ages from the timeline of the realm, when they get back, they won't be any older than they were when they were sent there. You know, kind of Narnia rules. Wait, didn't they all die and go to hell? No, they didn't. This rumor started with a mix of real-life controversy, the overall dark tone of the show, and one extremely frustrating fact. We never got a satisfactory ending, or any ending for that matter. If we go by the exact technicalities of the series, it's safe to say that the children were trapped in Dungeons and Dragons for eternity. However, due to the unfinished episode, or rather the lack of it, an urban legend slowly emerged, claiming that the real ending involved the kids dying on the roller coaster ride and going to hell. Very Final Destination, if you ask us. The 1980s were infamous for the Satanic Panic, and many religious groups were extremely suspicious of the concept of D&D. They believed it was linked to the occult and supernatural practices. Naturally, this rumor about the children dying and being sentenced to eternal damnation in hell fit very well with that narrative and acted as a sort of confirmation bias. Some fans also suggested that the very theme of the show hinted that the kids were stuck in hell. As such, it was much darker than the other children's shows of the time, and it revolved around them being transported to an alternate dimension where they were constantly in danger. Moreover, Moreover, the idea of getting back home is always dangled in front of them, but they never actually get to do it. This helped to fuel the hell theory because it was pretty consistent with the understanding of recurring punishment or limbo. As if that wasn't enough, a later Easter egg from Baldur's Gate 2 suggested that some characters had died while fighting a dragon. It wasn't hard to connect the dots and assume that it mirrored the children fighting with Tiamat, but we can confirm that this is unsubstantiated nonsense because the hell ending wasn't even part of the final episode anyways. Moreover, Michael Reeves himself has refuted these claims by calling them bourgeois, poppycock, and balderdash. The rumor has stuck around due to the inconclusive ending and religious panic. Many people tried to impose a darker explanation, but it felt just plausible enough to spread like wildfire. The fan animation that made grown adults cry. Now you know what the intended ending was supposed to be, but it was never produced, so technically it can't be termed canon. Thanks to the community, a group of fans came together to tie up the loose ends and created an animated mid-length film titled Dungeons & Dragons Requiem: The Final. It loosely follows the plot of the unreleased episode, and the best part of it is that some of the original cast, Katie Lee as Sheila and Frank Welker as Uni, came together to assist in creating it. A lot of existing footage was used, as was the recording from the audio play, so it does feel a tad bit amateurish. However, considering the circumstances, we have nothing but praise for it. Don't let the fan-made moniker fool you into thinking this is trash, because this is what all fans refer to as the unofficial ending of the series. A car commercial did what no finale could. It's not uncommon for comics and franchises to feature in marketing efforts, and there have been some truly imaginative commercials that have made fans think that they were better than their respective inspirations. In 2019, Renault decided to do something about the fact that the D&D cartoon left us all hanging. They created a commercial for The Outsider in Brazil to highlight the fact that the SUV could be used for all kinds of adventures. The show was extremely popular in that country, so it made sense to capitalize on the opportunity. The commercial featured Hank, Eric, Diana, Presto, Sheila, Bobby, and even Uni against a very menacing Tiamat to get the point of the SUV across. It shows Dungeon Master riding in it to tell the kids that they can return home, and the entire party jumps in. I guess it's a very roomy car. Diana takes the wheel and drives away from Venger in a chase scene that's very reminiscent of actual movie car chases. So, in conclusion, the car has lots of room, it can withstand rash driving, and it'll get you home safely, a 10 out of 10 for the SUV, but we bet that this 2-minute commercial gave more peace to fans of the show, more so than almost anything else had in a long time. However, it is hinted that Venger also followed them back to their world, so just a speck of suspense is left for fans to savor. I remember reading somewhere that this apparently encouraged a D&D fan to purchase a Renault car as they were looking to get a new one and wanted to thank the company for the commercial. So I guess this was a happy ending for both the fan and for Renault as well. The comics that just kept the adventure going. In 2023, IDW brought back the characters from the show for a comic miniseries called Dungeons & Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures. It was written by David M. Boer of Canto fame and Sam Maggs from Rick and Morty Ever After, while George Cambates from John Carter of Mars was behind the artwork. The series follows a different storyline that focused more on some of the children not wanting to go back home because, according to Sheila, it just wasn't a possibility and they would have to make the best out of their current situation. To support this theory, we're given the following examples. Presto met his soulmate, Diana can speak to animals, and Bobby found Uni and can't just abandon her because she obviously can't leave the realm with them. Letting all of that go to get back to 9th grade seems like an awful trade. Just as Hank is about to reply, the gang is attacked by too many creatures at the same time. Not being able to withstand them, Sheila asks everyone to enter a nearby portal, saying perhaps it will take them home if nothing else. When everyone jumps through it, however, they find themselves free-falling out of the sky. Fortunately, Presto conjures up a mattress for them to land safely, and they come face-to-face with a woman who exclaims how relieved she is that it worked. But this new world clearly wasn't their home, and the group scrambles to decide what to do. The mysterious lady urges them to get inside a weird-looking monastery, which Hank is absolutely against, but Sheila says they have no choice. The lady insists that they will come soon, and the group realizes in horror the creatures have followed them through the portal. With no other option, they storm inside the building as Presto makes the discovery that this monastery was dedicated to the god Lathander, also known as the Morning Lord. They're stunned to discover an entire collection of magical objects that can defeat even Venger, and Eric terms it a walk-in closet for magic. The lady reveals her name to be Faelona and says that she's cursed to not be able to leave the building. They're currently in the realm known as Waterdeep, and Faelona was born with wild magic that she can't always control, so she can sometimes create portals. Hank jumps at that opportunity, asking her if she can help them get back home, but Eric wonders what Dungeon Master has to say about the plan. Diana responds, he'd say something like when questions outnumber answers, lies often outshine the truth. Eric has no idea what that means, so he agrees that Dungeon Master would indeed say something cryptic like that. Just then, Falona's ability takes over, and she ends up creating a portal through which numerous creatures enter the room. As everyone gets busy fighting, Eric and Diana try to leave, but end up in another dungeon with a creepy skeleton that obviously belonged to some unfortunate soul who got trapped there. While running away from the monsters there, they encounter Falona again, who stuns them by saying that she's the real one, and the person they met earlier is a fake. She takes them back, and Eric and Diana realize that she was being truthful. The fake Falona has the rest of their friends under a spell and orders them to kill the duo. They somehow manage to fade the effects of the magic by reminding them of their friendship, but then they get confused between the two Falonas and have no way of knowing who's the imposter. Presto tries a trick, only for it to turn the gang into replicas of himself. Ultimately, Hank uses a classic King Solomon tactic to oust the faker, and wouldn't you know it, it turns out that the faker was actually Venger in disguise, trying to fool them. He wants to take their weapons for himself, but of course nobody's having it. They ask Falona for help in creating a portal that can suck him away, at least temporarily. The girl assumes that Venger was the one who had trapped her in the monastery, but he reveals that he's but a stranger to her. The one who cursed her is someone she knows all too well. Desperate to uncover this person's identity, Falona uses all of her strength to banish Venger using a different portal. Once they're done, she realizes she's been freed from her curse and tells the kids that she's going to find out who was behind it. She opens a portal to Earth, and Eric happily exclaims that the first thing he'll do is order a pizza. Similarly, Diana says that she'll hug her cat, and Presto, always the practical one, says that he's going to take a shower. Unfortunately, they land back in the very forest they were in before meeting Falona, and once again, everyone groans in frustration. They realize that maybe she had thought this was their home, not Earth, and even Hank accepts that maybe there's no way to get back for good. Sheila tries to cheer him up, but he flatly says that if she wants them to take on adventures that don't involve going back home, then she can lead them because he's had enough and just wants to quit. That's when the Dungeon Master arrives with a boatload of fries. He asks if they're ready for their next adventure, and Eric has a very valid crash out. While you were shopping for junk food, we got attacked by bat squid things and spider banshee things. You get the idea. When the older man asks Hank if he has truly given up on the group, the latter explains that he's not obsessed with going back home just because it might appear so. Constantly fighting all the dangers in Dungeons & Dragons brings the very real possibility that when there is a real chance to go back home, all his friends will not have made it to that point. The rest of the kids finally understand his apprehension, and they agree to not give up on finding a way back home. This is where the first miniseries ended, and in 2024 it came back with a sequel which was set a few years after the events of Waterdeep. The comic opens with the gang trying to move through very heavy snow, freezing their butts off. When an ice troll attacks them, a strange man comes to their rescue and simply states that he's their guide, nothing else. But Diana recognizes him as Drizzt Do'Urden, a well-known hero across the realms. Drizzt says that the Dungeon Master has sent him to help the group out, and the latter himself appears. Now we get to the central theme of the story. Apparently, Dungeon Master is extremely sick and losing his powers, so the kids have to find a way to cure him. They agree to leave him with Drizzt while they travel to Luskan on the Sword Coast for a remedy where the hero's ally Jarlaxle will help them. However, because Luskan is filled with pirates, the group encounters fire as soon as they arrive and has to settle for a crash landing. They meet Jarlaxle, who warns them that the cure will come at a hefty cost. Once again, Venger makes his sinister appearance, claiming that the group will meet their watery demise soon. But wait, Bobby has disappeared somewhere, so they gotta find him first. Jarlaxle seems like a pretty respected and feared guy, so when he states that the kids are under his protection, the other dwellers of Luskan back off. The group also meets with Minsk, Jarlaxle's ally, and Boo, his miniature giant space hamster. It's a long story. Finally, after waiting for over an hour, their guide tells them that Bobby is being held by Captain Rathan and his ruthless crew, and they set sail to get the young boy back. We like how, even between the action, there's a few panels that portray Sheila's concern for her brother, and how she feels he's become more stubborn now that he's growing up. Diana comforts her by saying that it's normal for her to feel scared as his big sister, but Bobby is a good boy. Unfortunately, the moment doesn't last long because they get attacked by a dragon turtle and get washed up on a nearby island. Jarlaxle is nowhere in sight, and to to their complete astonishment, they find out that Rathan has announced Bobby as a member of his crew under the moniker Bobby the Barbarian. He manipulated the boy into thinking he'd been abandoned by his friends and older sister, so Minsk tells him that they have come to rescue him. Bobby gets mad and says that he doesn't want to be rescued, but Sheila goes into protective sister mode and gives away their hiding spot. Captain Rathan gives Bobby the chance to choose one member from his group and have them fight the dragon turtle. If they win, they can take Bobby back. If not, they will all become the creature's lunch. Bobby is desperate to prove himself, so he announces he'll face the beast alone. His friends all volunteer as well because they don't want Bobby to take on the responsibility alone, but the youngest then exclaims that he was never really trying to join the pirates, he just wanted to get Rathan's wooden leg because it's a magical healing staff. He wanted to use it to cure the Dungeon Master, and now everybody was messing up his extremely clever and sneaky plan. In the end, there's no way out other than winning, so while Diana and Sheila attack Rathan, while the rest take on the dragon turtle. Jarlaxle arrives right on time to get them aboard the ship, and they manage to escape without sustaining any losses. Bobby and Sheila reunite and share a hug, and the group regrets not bringing back the healing staff for the Dungeon Master, but Bobby reveals that he picked up some of his older sister's sneaky habits and had managed to get his hands on it. On their way back, Hank confides in Jarlaxle about his worry regarding the Dungeon Master's health. The latter says that if he recovers, he can open a portal back home for the kids, but Hank knows that if the old man had that power, he would have already done it. Jarlaxle says that people who possess power usually don't use it for the good of others unless they want something in return. Anyways, as they get closer to their destination, the storm starts to build up and Jarlaxle reveals his true intention. He wants the Spelljammer for himself in exchange for having helped them. Once again, the group is ready to fight, but Drist arrives at the right time and diffuses the situation. Jarlaxle says that he's only letting go out of friendship for the other man. Meanwhile, Dungeon Master has gotten even frailer and reveals that the root of his illness is none other than Venger, who's been siphoning off the old man's power for himself. Unfortunately, it's too late to save him using the healing staff, and he utters one last riddle before closing his eyes. To get a leg up on Venger's curse, the power may be close at hand. Presto infers that this means the staff can be used to redirect the Dungeon Master's lost power back to him from Venger instead of using it directly on the almost dead old man. When Venger arrives and gloats about becoming the most powerful entity across the realms, Presto puts his plan into action and succeeds. The Dungeon Master opens his eyes, now possessing even more power than before, while Venger is taken prisoner by Jarlaxle. Hank suggests that this is their opportunity to destroy the wizard once and for all, but Dungeon Master finally opens a realm to the amusement park, saying that the kids can now go home. However, he doesn't reveal that doing so means that every living being in the other realms will die, but Venger does. Earlier, Dungeon Master didn't have the power to open this portal, but now he does, so he gives the kids the choice to go back, even if it means he'll die. Eric refuses, saying that Dungeon Master is as much a part of their team as anyone, and they don't want to leave him to a horrible fate just to go back home. The rest of his friends echo the same answer, so Dungeon Master tells them that they can change their minds later if they should so wish. Venger is no longer a threat, and the team wonders what they're going to do now. Just then, a boy from a nearby village asks for their help in defeating a monster, so our heroes set out on their next quest. He actually really liked how IDW worked with the characters in a different vein, and even gave them the choice to go back home, but many other fans have criticized the miniseries for being too off track, saying that it defeats the very purpose behind the concept. We don't know if there will be any more issues of this going forward, but if more are released, we hope they at least circle back to the idea of the gang going back home by figuring out a way to do it without having the Dungeon Master die. Hollywood finally notices them. The 2023 D&D film, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, had a cameo scene with the kids from the cartoon, featuring them as older than their animated counterparts. While this movie makes it clear that the kids never managed to leave the realm, there's a lot of doubt about whether they survived the ending. Jonathan Goldstein has pointed out, we don't kill them off. The last we see them in the movie, they're safely in the Cage of Sanctuary, and they've escaped from the Displacer Beast. However, his co-director, John Francis Daly, is of the opinion that the beckoning spell may have killed them. Even Paramount hasn't openly stated what happened to Hank, Eric, Diana, Bobby, Sheila, and Presto, but some fans are hoping they'll return if Honor Among Thieves ever gets a sequel. So, did they ever make it home? You know, I really wish we could give you a definitive answer. We've been trying to figure this out for decades now. Officially, we can't say the children went back. Even within the explicit canon of the show, they managed to get close to it in numerous episodes. For example, in The Eye of the Beholder, they have a chance to go back home, but have to give it up to save Sir John, their ally. In Beauty and the Bog Beast, They actually get back home, but Eric turns into a hideous frog-like creature known as a bog beast, and in order for him to turn back into his human self, Group decides to go back to the realm. In the box, Venger follows them back to Earth, and they're left with no choice but to return to the realm because the wizard poses a massive threat to Earth. In Day of the Dungeon Master, Eric chooses to stay back in the realm and send his friends to Earth, but they refuse because they want to stick together, even if that means they can't go home. So you can see that the gang almost made it back home many times, but chose humanity and friendship and had to stay in the realm instead. Unofficially, some of them have made it back safely, but if we follow canon, then the Dungeon Master's prophecy is the best real answer. Honestly, sometimes an uncertain ending is the best one, as we saw in the unreleased final episode, so we're okay with being left with a subjective ending. Alright folks, that's everything we could find about the fate of the kids from the D&D cartoon. Let us know if you've seen that fan-made ending and what you thought of it in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, let us know by hitting the like and subscribe button down below, because that's the best way to get more content like this on this channel. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and we'll see ya in the next one.